we're a family. Me and Kira are twins.
I am unhappy to report that Mrs. Wong now hates us even more.
Next item, Billy and Nora are on a mission fighting Dr. Plutonium. We're awaiting a status report. It's going well! Thanks, Billy!
When I was testing for Thundermans, I remember this clear as day. I'm gonna sound so conceited saying this. Like,
how was it working with Maya?
I love working with Maya. She's my favorite person on set. Whatever you want in life exists for you. I've always said it that way. Like, if you're doing the things that you need to be doing, it exists for you.
Thundermans, back for round 2.
Yeah.
That's crazy that the fan demand was so strong that not only did it bring back a movie, it brought back a 26-episode season.
Which is like a full order. And to get that confidence was really special.
That doesn't happen anymore.
No, it really doesn't. Like, deals don't go around like what me and Kier got. Like, it's, we're so lucky. Yeah.
And now you're signed on as executive producer.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
You know, I think it came from the network wanting to give us a little bit more incentive to come back, you know. Kira and I both have our life going on, and we wanted to come back, I mean, regardless, you know, but that was just an extra little bit of, like, I don't know, for me, it was like they respected me. You know, it was like they recognized that, like, no one knows the show like us. And by the end of the original series, we felt pretty comfortable to, like, say what we felt and sort of give our input. But now it's like the next level, you know, like, we can work in any capacity that we want. You know, I can be as involved or not involved as I want. You know, if I have a busy week, I can kind of just lay back, and if I have time and energy, I can be there when we're shooting other scenes that I'm not in, and, like, help the kids and, like, help the writing and, like, you know, just work very collaboratively with the whole team. And I learned so much, and that's where I really came at it from, just a stance of, hey, I know nothing. I've never done this before. Let me just soak all this in. And it was really incredible.
Were you finding yourself wanting to do those kind of roles on the movie?
No, because I think the movie, we were all just so jazzed to be back, and it was so new and exciting, and it's also a one-off when you do a movie. You know, the movie was 3 weeks and it was done. You know, only 9 days of shooting.
How many days of shooting was this new season?
4.5 months. So, you know, when you do a series, you get to, like, grow with the character. And I love movies. My goal is to be a movie star. But when you do a series, you get to really live in it, you know? You get to really discover who you are as you're growing up as a young person along with your character. And then, you know, the writers get to know you and get to write for you, and, you know, they recognize your strengths and play to those, you know. With
the Thundermans Undercover, once it gets picked up and you guys start filming, is every episode written out already at that point?
No. So there's a certain time frame in which they're, like, ahead, if you will, you know. But, you know, the time frame of this season was wild.
You guys like double time.
We did 2 episodes a week. I'm sure Kira told you that, and which is so not normal. You know, it's not a normal thing to do. Like, it was like a daytime soap, you know, level of work. You know, 25 pages a day. You know, like, it's unheard of for multicam sitcom.
And for perspective, what were you doing in those first few seasons?
1 episode a week, you know, so half, you know, half in the same amount of time. So when we do the original series, like most multicam sitcoms work, if it's a Thursday, Friday shoot, like sometimes they're like Monday, Tuesday shoots, but usually they're Thursday, Friday shoots, and you come in on Monday, it's like very like chill and like lax, you know, like very... the pace is different. You come in, you rehearse, you do a table read, you rehearse all Monday, and then you come in and rehearse again on Tuesday, and then you do a run through, like a little dress rehearsal, you know, you don't get dressed, but if you will. And then Wednesday, you do the same thing. You rehearse again, and you do another run-through, a more legit run-through for the network, and then you shoot Thursday, Friday. And so by the time you get to Thursday, Friday, it's like a play. It's down. Our blocking's down. It's in our bodies. We know what we're doing. You know, everything's shot super far away on a multi-cam sitcom, so it has to be very big and broad, and has to be rehearsed, right? And this season of this new show, we learned early on we were going to do 2 a week, and my mind was boggled. I was like, how? You know? We came in and rehearsed all Monday, and on our off weeks, we would do our table reads. We'd come in and read, like, 3 or 4 scripts during our off weeks so that when time came to like for production week, we could just go. So Monday we'd rehearse all day, and then we'd shoot. Instead of 2 days at the end of the week, we'd shoot 4 days in a row, all out of order. So there's multiple scripts going. There's multiple stories in my head. You know, I'm like working with the director. I'm like, what's going on? You know, like I knew a light sort of what's going on, of course, because I'm prepared. But this was a new thing. I had to ask her. I was like, what happened just before this? You know what I mean? Like, what can I be 100% committed to? Because that's how I approach acting. Like, you have to commit. You have to commit 100%, or else it'll be fake. You know, like people will know.
Who are those table reads for? Is that so everybody in the cast and crew can be on the same page?
Right. Yeah, pretty much. Like, the table read really is for the writers. I mean, it's for everyone, right? But mainly for the writers to hear their words for the first time.
From the mouths.
See how it's sounding, see how it's going, see if it sounds natural. And then throughout the week in the original show, that we'd get rewrites every day. But
like, we want to tweak this. Let's have the... okay.
Yeah, but now it's very like, okay, you get one shot. We're going to do the table read. We rehearse, and they'll maybe do one rewrite, and then we're shooting, you know? And the schedule was mad. So the EPs, the other showrunners, 3 of them, they'd be like editing episodes, like the episodes we just shot. They'd be editing it like on the day while we're shooting another episode, you know? So it was just wild. I don't know how they did it. They were so burnt out by the end. I mean, they're such hard workers and they're such talented people. And we're so lucky to have Jed Spingarn and Mark Dorkin and Sean Cunningham. They're just superstars in the industry, and they're so funny. And I think we pulled it off. Yeah.
What is it like for you as an actor, for the network to fly you out to Vancouver and put you up, and you're the star?
Yeah.
Is that crazy to you?
Kira's the star.
Is that crazy to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's still crazy to me, man. Like, I came here to this town when I was almost 14, and this is what I've always wanted. My older brothers did acting in their high school, and I idolized them. You know, and instead of going to, like, basketball and football games, which I did sometimes, I was excited to go watch Oklahoma, you know? And, you know, musical theater is a big part of who I am. I want to do Broadway eventually. I want to do a year or two in New York eventually. I love it there. It's my favorite city in the world by far.
Would you act there too?
Yeah, I mean, Broadway, I almost got the Back to the Future thing that happened a couple years ago. It's still running. And
what character were you up for?
Marty. Yeah. I flew out for like the last callback and ended up not getting it, but it was a huge win. I mean, it was Bernie Telsey's office, and I'm pretty sure it was Bernie. And maybe not. But either way, it was just such a win to get far. You have to take little wins. Like in life, I think, you know, the industry is very niche, but even in life and across all fields, it's like you have to, believe that whatever you want in life exists for you. I've always said it that way. Like if you're doing the things that you need to be doing, it exists for you.
That's deep. That's good.
And yeah, it is deep, right?
That's
I had
really
another
deep.
point.
I'm applying that to myself.
Oh yeah, and then the wins. Like there's that the it already existing for you, and the little wins. Like when you don't get things, and I don't get things so much. Like the 2 auditions I told you about this week. Like I have to know that it's very unlikely. I have to move on, even though I know that I did a great job, and I know that if I don't get it, it's probably like a look thing. It's not like, you know, what they're imagining. But when you get far on things, like last year I tested for the Dexter show, and that was a super big win. I didn't get it, and I cried. But like I have to let it fuel me to say, hey, I was right there. Like I was on Nickelodeon, but I was right there for this serious serial killer role. I can do this. Same thing with the Broadway thing. Like I didn't know I had the chops. And when I was flown out to New York to do the last callback for Marty McFly, I was like, I have the chops. I can do this, you know. And you have to take the little wins as success. You're getting success when you come close to things. It's just the way it is. It's the way life works.
Had you gotten Back to the Future, would that have affected the filming for Thundermans?
Yeah, I would be doing that.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I could have originated the role and then done it for like a year and then still done Thundermans. You know, it just depends. Just it all depends on when those deals are happening, you know?
Have you watched the new Dexter show?
No.
Is that something that you try to avoid?
Yeah. I heard it wasn't really received very well anyway, and that's another good point is like I told you I cried about that. But
you were up for Dexter, young Dexter.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And a lot of things in the industry you want so bad, but it's really rare to have a hit. You know, like hits are really hard to come by.
There's like levels to it. It's
There's
like, yeah,
levels.
it gets made, but then is it received?
Is it good?
Is it going to keep going?
You know? And, you know, there's so many times where, like, for example, like when I was testing for Thundermans, I remember this clear as day. I'm going to sound so conceited saying this, like, you know, but I didn't want it. I wanted the Disney show I was testing for because in your mind you have an idea of, like, what you want and, like, what's going to be best for you, but, like, we don't freaking know, you know? Like, I ended up getting the best show I could have possibly gotten, even though I wanted freaking Dog with a Blog, you know, that went 2 years. Like, I wanted that one. And look at me, like, years later, still doing this. Like, I'm so lucky and so grateful, and it just goes to show, like, a door closes and a window opens, and, like, you can never get down on yourself for failing. It all is in the fail, you know? Like, life is in the fail. And when people are afraid to do things that they're not good at, that they know they're going to fail and fall on their face, they're not going to get anywhere because you have to be willing to fail. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. And it bugs me when people don't want to try things and people don't want to fall on their face because it's fear. It's operating out of fear. And I think I've had less and less fear in my, you know, recent years.
That's great.
Yeah.
Can you explain the audition process just because you brought up Dexter? Did that show get announced and you're like, I want to audition for that? Or did that side come to you? How does it work?
So, like, when you're first starting out, you can do Actors Access and submit yourself and stuff. But
That's a site where you can just log on?
Yeah. You can, you know, when you're non-union, you know, but, you know, I've been doing this a long time. I have reps, and they get me auditions, and that's kind of how it works. And I just get it in my email, you know? I just get it in my email. And the Dexter thing was like, wow, you know, I loved that show.
So good.
I love Dexter, you know? And they've tried to redo it a couple times, and it felt like this was the one, you know, and it was to play Dexter. And a lot of the fans wanted a show about his son, but they ended up choosing to do young Dexter. And that just excited me, man. Like, I was so about it. I just remember taking it so seriously, and I did my tape, and I loved the tape so much. And I think I went in twice in person, and it was my first in-person audition in years. Like we were talking about before we started, like, the industry has just changed so much. And one of the big things for actors is the fact that we don't get to go and audition in person and show our personality, because at the end of the day, like any field, it is about your talent and your hard work and what you bring to the table, but it's really about, like, do I want to hang out with this guy? You know, do I want to see their personality. And, you know, when you don't get to go in person, you don't get to show that sort of personal element. Like, today I had my Zoom call back that I mentioned to you for this other film, and I had this, like, fun banter with them on Zoom, and, like, it felt so good, and I, like, you know, I was funny and I was charming, and, like, that is something that is gone now, you know. And so when I had my in-person audition for Dexter, I was nervous. I was like, am I gonna, like, do I still got it? Like, you know, am I still, like, cool? You know? Because it's you're auditioning, so you're focused, but you want to show your personality, and you want to show that you're a fun guy to be around, because at the end of the day, you're spending 5-8 months with this person, and that's what they're looking at. Half of it is, like, are they cool? Do I want to, like, have lunch with them on set? Do I want them to be around, you know?
Who are you doing that across from? Is somebody else playing the other role with you?
Yeah,
like another actor?
So today, I don't really have a great, like, self-tape studio set up for myself right now, and so I just texted my teacher yesterday. Sorry, I just ate. I'm having some
Takaya.
shout out. I texted my teacher yesterday. I was like, "Hey, can I just pay for the hour? I want to do this Zoom call back at your spot." And she was like, "Of course." And so we got to, like, run it before. It was great. It was such a great experience this morning, and yeah, so it's funny you asked, because I asked my teacher, I was like, should I flip the camera and do the front facing so I can see them. You know what I mean? This Zoom callback thing, like it's still new. You know what I mean? I'm not here balling, like getting callbacks left and right. Like it's a rare thing, like the industry is really competitive. Like everyone's so good. Like you have to be elite. You have to be really on your stuff. And we tried to flip it around so I could see them, but like the Zoom wasn't working. Like it was like upside down. And so I just had to hear them. Like they saw me, like I didn't see them. And it was funny. They were like, we were kind of commenting on that once they got onto the Zoom lobby or whatever. And I was just having some funny banter. Like, I can't see you guys, but I'm imagining like, beautiful, talented people. And they kind of gave back. They're like, oh, we're looking at you with stars in our eyes, googly eyes. I was like, oh, like it made me feel good, and it's just this like, it's a personal thing. Right. And so it's a human thing, acting. And when you don't have that human thing, when you're just sending in a self-tape, it becomes so soul-sucking, It becomes like this thing that it's not supposed to be. You're supposed to go into a room and, like, light it up and, like, show your personality and, like, look at them in the eye. Like, that's all gone now because of whatever it is. COVID happened and the strike happened and, the industry has changed so much. Like studios aren't willing to take risks anymore. They're banking on reboots, which, hey, I am all about. I'm here profiting off of it. So I can't say that it's a bad thing. It's beneficial for me, but there's less roles to go around. There's less. I don't know if necessarily like if it's fact that there's less things being made, but I know it's harder for everyone. It's much harder for everyone than it used to be, and getting auditions and getting seen. And so with art, like I just have to make it about my love for it. And even with music, like I've been doing this band for a few years, and I've gotten lucky enough to tour the country once, and it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. People come into my shows, like multiple shows on tour with like my handwriting like tattooed on them. Like, what? Like that made it so real for me. Like a girl like asked me to like write my lyrics on her forearm, and comes to like another show with it like tatted on her. And it's you have to, like, my point is, with success and like perception and worldly success, like what we see success as, it's this fleeting thing. First of all, like Jim Carrey, I love one of his quotes. He's like, I wish that everyone could get rich and famous and get everything they ever wanted and realize that they're still empty. Like the best things in life are free. Because I don't know, that's a really deep, I can't give a because to that, that's like too philosophical for me, but it's true, like you have to do things for your love for them or else it becomes transactional. And I love acting and I love music, and I feel like I'm in a really good spot with both of them now. And I have time really more in my later 20s now to sort of relax into that a little bit, especially with the financial security of the new show. I can really, really dive into what I want to do, and I can really focus on my acting class. Like I mentioned to you before we started, I have my first month this month since before I left for Vancouver last year, which was in like June. And so it's tomorrow night, and I saw my teacher this morning. I'm like, I'm so jazzed. I'm so ready, And that it should be like that, and I'm actually teaching kids now too, which I love. And,
of acting?
Yeah.
Wow.
And one of the things I tell them is that you gotta love this, and there's gonna be so many ups and downs, and you have to fall in love with the craft. It has to light you up, because if it doesn't, it's not gonna be worth it.
When you get to set for Thundermans Undercover the first day, what are you looking forward to the most? Because after hearing you do love the craft, you love the art. What gets you the most jazzed? Is it a monologue? Is it a big group scene?
Well, for Thundermans specifically, or just like in general about acting?
For Thundermans Undercover, for this new season.
I think the whole experience in general was just so life-changing, and I grew so much. I think I was just excited for the experience. It wasn't anything specific, but moving to Vancouver by myself, like, I've always had roommates. Like, I love having my friends around, and there's pros and cons to that. You know, you got to learn how to be alone too, you know, which I've done a little bit of, but this was the first time that I spent, 4.5 months by myself. And I was excited for that. I knew there was going to be growth there. And of course there was, to the point where when I got back here in like January, because I went to Switzerland, like I mentioned, with my family, it seemed like I was gone from July to January, even though it was just 4.5 months of production. When I got back, I was so different, and the things that I tolerated were so different in a respectful way. I wasn't like, don't be like that, but I changed so much and I grew so much that I had a lot of hard conversations with like a lot of my friends of like, can you what do you mean by that? Or that's not very nice. You know what I mean? Like I realized in being alone and working so much, I mean, it was like we mentioned when we started this interview, like it was nonstop. It was every minute of every day there was something that I was responsible to, whether it was getting up and getting food and working out and getting to set and memorizing my lines and like other things on set, like network things, like just so many things consumed every day that it was just a different experience than I ever had. And so at the end of it, I realized that I've kind of been like a pushover my whole life. You know what I mean? Like I've kind of like let things happen around me and to me when you don't need to. Like you're in control of your own destiny, Like I looked around at my friends and I was like, I love them, but I need some new friends, Like I need to shake it up a little bit, And yeah, I think to answer your question, I was excited for the experience of growth that I knew it would be, and to be on set again. Like I've been on set here and there, like since it ended in 2018, for things, whether it's a week at a time or a month at a time. But like 4.5 months, like
of doing what you love,
doing what I love. Like that's what the consistency, right? Like we all love consistency, and even though it was this new schedule that, it was this big question mark, like how is this going to work? It was like this big puzzle piece or this big puzzle rather, that I was a little piece in, but there were so many little pieces that needed to still be ironed out, like the camera crew had never done multicam before, like that kind of stuff, where we had an amazing legend, Carl Loughton, in the industry. He came and like trained them for a couple weeks, and he was very involved as the camera associate, we call it, or the DP, let's say. But little things like that, we didn't know how it was going to work, and it was so collaborative. Like it was so, I felt valued. And I really found my lane on set with coaching the kids. Like I mentioned to you, I have some students now, and it's been really, really fun because it's really cool for me as an actor, because it doesn't mean I'm this like great actor. It's like, no, I work well with kids. I feel like I get what makes them tick. I get how their brains work, and I can like sort of not tell them how to do it, but change their perspective on the situation, right?
How was it working with Maya?
I love working with Maya. She's my favorite person on set.
With her stepping up, it's crazy.
It's so crazy. I mean, I have known her since she was 4. She's one of my favorite people. She's so pure. She's so funny, and she's a hard worker. And even when it gets to those days and those times of days where it's hard, she mans up, and she does what she needs to do. And she also had no ego, and that was like a huge thing. Like when I started working with her, she was hungry for it, and a lot of kids would let their ego get in the way, and she didn't have any of that. And I think that's due to her amazing parents, Amy and Jason, who I love. And she just absorbed everything, and you see her, and if you watch the series, like you see her grow, and it's incredible. It was an honor to be next to her and watch this young woman really hone in her craft.
What do you think the biggest misconception or the biggest misunderstanding that the audience might not have about the Thundermans Undercover?
Misconception.
Like special effects take way longer than they think.
I think what they don't realize maybe is that we grew up together. Like, we really grew up together.
That was your childhood.
And that's why it is a success, because people want to see something real. You know, like, I feel like with my auditions, like, sometimes I'm like, in my school right now that I'm training at, like, I've gotten caught up in the past however many years of like tracking little things I'll do with like my eyebrows or like some looks and it's like, none of that matters. It's an essence. Do you have the essence of the guy? And the rest of it they can work with. We can mold, you know, we can take direction, but it's the essence. Are you this guy? And so to answer your question, like, we're a family, you know, like Maya's our little sister, and like me and Kira are twins, and we love each other like brother and sister, and we fight like brother and sister, and it's a team, you know, it really is. And even when there's days where it's not sunshine and rainbows, you can't run from it, you know, like, we're stuck together, and for better or for worse, you know. And I think what people don't realize is that we are so close, and we are family, and like I said, we really grew up together. And it's like when you think about your high school days or your middle school days, like those friends that you had, like I can think of 5, you know, right now, and you can just pick up where you left off, and it's such a beautiful thing. And with Thundermans and our relationship, like, that's just what it is, you know. Like, if Kira called me in the middle of the night, I'd be there for her.
What did you and Kira do at the end of filming? Was there any kind of like, I can't believe we did it again?
Yeah, there were moments like on set throughout the season where we'd have a sort of telepathic, like, what are we doing? How is this possible that we're still here? You know, like, doing this again. You know, I remember the first camera test, which is, you know, where they have us in the set for the first time, in costume for the first time. And
oh, way back when?
No, like for the new one.
Oh, okay.
For Undercover. And it was the first time it was real, you know, like, it had been talked about for a while. I mean, I remember I was at EDC, bro, when I first got a call from my rep saying, hey, Jack, I know you're at a music festival, but we got this interesting call from Nick, and they're interested in doing a Thundermans movie. You know, this was 2021. You know, this was 4 years ago. And I was on one. I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm down. Like, let me know. You know, I'm with my friends. I'm literally at the music festival. I'm like, sounds great to me. You know?
It. Let's just do it.
Let's do it now, you know?
Come bring them out here.
Yeah. And sure enough, it came to fruition. I was down from the start. You know, it was such an important time in my life that I'll never forget and always look back on fondly, that I almost knew I didn't care about the deal or the money. I almost knew that it would be right. Like, I just got good vibes from the start. Right when that first conversation, I just kind of just put it into the universe, if you will, you know. Manifestation prayer is a big part of my life. Like we talked about earlier, it's like whatever you want in life, it exists for you. You know, if you're not being complacent, you know, if you're doing the things every day to get yourself there. One of my acting teachers along the way, it's been so incredible. Like, I've gotten so many little nuggets of wisdom from so many people in my life. And one of the little ones was like, just do something every day. Do something every day that advances your career. You know, and that was when I was like 13. I was like, okay, you know. And I think a lot of people, especially actors, like, kind of miss the mark of, oh, well, I have to be on set or have to have an audition to, like, train. It's like, no, like, you can watch a great film. You know, you can read a great play. You can, you know, start a scene study with some of your friends. You know, like, the best things in life are free.
When you and Kira got back together and you started filming, did it almost feel like no time has passed? I know you did the movie, but to get back into that.
Yes and no. Like, like I said before, and a couple minutes ago, we're a family, and so it is like no time had passed, and we picked up where we left off, you know. But we also changed a lot, you know. We became more of who we are as adults, and a lot of the problems that we had when we were teenagers weren't there anymore, you know, because we weren't kids, you know. We had respect for each other, you know, and not that we had no respect when we were kids, but you're kids, like, you're figuring it out, you know. Like I would be short with people when I was a kid, and I'm still short with people now sometimes, but the way I have described it is like we grew outside of set, away from each other, away from our characters, away from all of that, and coming back, we're almost able to give more, you know. We're able to give more to these characters and the stories and the whole project because we're adults and we're sort of more fleshed out humans, you know.
And I think what's so special too is not only did you have that time to grow and change and whatever, but you also shut the door thinking that, this is done. Like, you really had time to grow. Totally. It was done. Like, you weren't waiting for a call for it to come back.
Heck no. And it was bittersweet. It was so bittersweet, you know. And I was just continuing my acting journey, and you know, it brings me back to COVID, and it brings me back to 2018 to 19, the show ending, and I got right on Alexa and Katie, which was such a blessing to have another role like waiting for me. It was literally seamless. I walked off of Thundermans set, and the same day I went to Alexa and Katie.
Same day.
Wow. And it was a blessing. I can't describe it as anything else. And it was a little bit, you know, it was still a kid's show, but it was somewhat aged up, and I was dating Paris and like the main girl in the show, and it was such a awesome experience. And so to have that right after, and then I did a couple other things, and I had this momentum. I remember I did a couple SEAL Team episodes, and that was really cool to play like a soldier. I had like the whole garb on. I had like the 50 pounds of like weight, like carrying, and you know, I had scenes with like the main guy, Max Darriott, and
is there a real SEAL on set teaching you how to like posture?
100%, 1,000%. Yeah, I talked to him. I was like, I don't know if he had a missing arm or like his arm was mangled. And I was like, I felt so stupid, dude. Like, this is just on the real. I was like, what happened? Dude. He was like, oh, it like got blown up in Afghanistan. I was like, sorry, you know? Like, so stupid, you know? But yeah, you know, and I bring this up to say, like, COVID happened, and I think everyone's lives were changed, and all of a sudden I wasn't doing anything, and I felt this great momentum into like transitioning to this adult actor, despite that I did 100 episodes of a Nick show, so I was really working hard. And everything stopped, and I feel like everyone was forced to look at themselves differently, and like who am I? You know, like, who am I without this stuff? You know, like, I feel like we get so attached to this identity being in what you do. Like, I hate that question, what do you do? And I ask people too, but it's like who are you? Like, who are you? You know, like, tell me who you are, not what you do, you know? And I had to look at myself. I said, well, you know, I want to change people's lives. Like, I want to touch people, metaphorically. And that's really what art is about. It's about taking something on the inside, which is relatable because we're all humans. We all have felt similar things. And making it and forming it and crafting it into something real in the real world that people can look at and recognize and be like I feel that, you know? And that's what I want, you know? And so when COVID happened, I stopped acting. I mean, everyone stopped everything, right? But like I mentioned before, you can do other things, and I was still kind of trying to develop my skills, you know. But we couldn't even go to acting class for a while. Like, everything was shut down, you know. And so music, right? It just was the next thing, and it's something that I always loved from a little kid, and musical theater and singing and performing, and I started writing songs. I think I wrote like, you know, 24 songs in like a year. And that's not some like bragging, there's not a lot of songs, but like I just like started to like, you know, teach myself how to do that just on my own. Like, and I think that's an important thing. Like, I think a lot of people gravitate towards like finding someone to like teach me how to do this, and it's a really beautiful thing when you're like, no, like I want to figure this out myself, you know. And of course later down the line, like I collaborated with people, I'm in a band and I started working with these awesome musicians, but in the beginning it was very much like, you know, and the songs were like whatever, but I was getting it out, you know. I was taking, same thing as acting, just a different medium, right? It's so, the difference is so nuanced, but it's very similar, right? It's taking this thing on the inside and making it something real.
And now you have the debut EP coming out.
I do. I have the debut EP coming out. Bro.
How was it picking these 3 songs? Why was now the time for it?
Well, it's interesting. We were gonna put it out in the fall, but our music video was delayed. We, for whatever reason, we just didn't get the edit back for like a really long time from the person that I worked with, which was a bummer. And so we just had to push. We just had to push it. It was going to be in like August. We had the songs, you know, but we weren't going to put it out without a visual element because it had been since September of 23 since we released a single called Everybody Needs Somebody, which I love that song still. It's a really interesting topic because I don't know how I want to pose this. I got my foot in a lot of doors with music because of who I am. The millions of followers, people are interested in that. Like, it just is what it is, you know. And I got to work with some really cool producers and writers, and you know, teaching me how to write and getting that experience of studio time, and we did put one song out called Let Me Go. It was our 3rd single. With Dan Garrity wrote and produced it. He's
did he?
Super, you know Dan?
Yeah, of course.
Oh my gosh,
I used to film with him for his old band Hollywood Ending.
You're kidding?
Yeah.
Wow.
He filmed his breakup band video in my basement in New
No
Jersey.
kidding. That's nuts.
Is he still performing with 21 Pilots?
No, he's performing with Nessa.
Wow.
Yeah, and her music's fantastic. I love her music.
Is he here in LA?
No, he's in Nash.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I didn't even know who he was, and I rolled up to a house, and my friend Colin Deedon, I don't know if you know Colin, but he goes by Lil Hurt. He like set up the session for me, and I roll in, and there's redhead Dan, you know, just like already have like a chord progression going. It was fire, of course. He's like such a baller. He's a real G, dude. And all this to say, like, I got to work with these really cool people, but this EP was all in-house. It was just me and my band, and we had taken it's like we had taken something from everyone. We had taken little gems, like I said before, little nuggets of wisdom from everyone. And it wasn't the plan. We weren't like, okay, it's going to be us. But we worked with people, and we also worked on our own, and like what ended up coming in the lead, or if you will, and you know, that we liked the most were the 3 songs that we just did ourselves, you know. And I love that, you know, my lead guitar player Tristan Bankston, his brother Nathan Bankston is our producer. He's our bass player right now. He plays with us on stage, and it's so cool having brothers in a band, that sort of connection, that familiarity, you know. And he produced our whole EP, and I'm really, really proud of it that it was just us. Not that it needed to be, like I said, we didn't set out and be like, all right, it has to be just us, you know. It just ended up that way. Like, we had other good songs that we worked with other producers on, but it's almost like when you work with other producers, you're almost on their time, you know. And everyone's so kind and respectful, but at the end of the day, once you're doing in the studio for 5-6 hours, it's like, all right, like, we're done, you know. And when you're in house, it's we have our own studio in Van Nuys, and we rent it, like 6 of us. We've renovated it, we've built it out. It's fantastic. Actually, we just did a recent renovation that just took it totally to the next level. I actually can't take any credit for it. I didn't do anything.
I showed up though.
Yeah, I showed up and said good job. But yeah, it's the EP is called Falling Forward, and it's very close to my heart, and it's kind of just what I've been going through these past few years with my family, just personal things that I really needed music to understand. And you know, it's almost like therapy. Like talking about things helps.
Would you do a tour with it?
Oh yeah.
Is there anything in the works yet?
Absolutely. There was something on the table that ended up getting postponed, opening for a band, one of my friends' bands, but their tour got postponed, and when they are gonna go next year, I can only assume we'll be on season 2.
Okay.
You know, I hope. So no tour schedule right now. I'd love to. I mean, honestly, Joe, I've done so many cool things in my life, but touring with my music, playing my music for new people every night, like it's such a joy even to play music live for a couple people that have never heard me.
Are you in a van?
Yeah.
That's the most fun.
Yeah, like bare bones. Like we didn't have any cushy like tour manager, social media. It was like us.
Are you driving?
3. Yeah. Like we're all switching off driving. It was us 3, like the band. Like that was it. We're doing everything, you know. We're taking the equipment into our hotel at night so it doesn't get stolen. We're like breaking down and setting up. Like we're selling merch. Like it was a full-time job.
Do you remember Do you remember the band All Star Weekend?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did their tour with them too.
Oh, really?
I filmed video for them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. And like I eventually want to have, and we know that we will have a cushy tour one day with a tour bus eventually, and even before that, just having a TM and having, you know, a social media person, like that's gonna be great. But there was something so ragtag about what we did in a van. It was like a van. It wasn't a Sprinter. It was a van. You know, and we didn't even have like a trailer. Like we took out a seat in the back.
The 15-passenger van?
Dude, no, a minivan.
Oh, you didn't.
That's what I meant. That's the word I was looking for. It was a minivan, dude. You know, that we like got through one of my drummer's family members, and so we actually got to cut that expense, which was huge. Which is probably the only reason we made a little bit of money on that tour. Was that we had that van, but we didn't even have a trailer. Like I said, we took out one of the seats in the back, and so we had just enough room to just pack everything in. It's so tight, and you know, like whoever was in the back had it bad because they're like you know, for hours, you know, like the first tour stop was Detroit, and we drove out 3 days to get there.
Oh, from LA.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, it started in Detroit for whatever reason, and we were opening for TX2. Shout out TX2, Evan and all the boys. I mean, I'm so grateful to them because they positioned us to do this, to do our first tour, and it was just so incredible to play our stuff for new people every night. You know, we did 16 dates, and it was one of the best experiences ever. Yeah.
Can we just fire through some Thundermans questions?
Yeah, of course.
With 103 episodes in the bank, what did you want this new season to bring to you? Bring you and Max?
I wanted to grow as an actor. Like it's kind of like I said before, like I was just really looking forward to the whole experience of it. I mean, I was excited to be an EP, meaning that I could kind of give my input into not exactly what happened with the story, but the way it was delivered. You know what I mean? Like, I was excited that I had 2 feet to stand on of, hey, maybe we don't do it like that. You know, and not to say that their ideas are bad, but it's to say that I was excited to have a little bit of control of my own destiny, a little bit more, you know? And I was just excited for the consistency, like we talked about earlier, of just being on set. Like I love acting, and I love this multicam world. It's so much fun, and it's a dying art form.
Do you think it'll come back ever?
Yeah, everything comes back, you know, in the right time. Like trends, you know, style. It always comes back. Skinny jeans are out, you know. But I think so. I hope so. I think it's too familiar and feel good for it to not come back, you know.
Do you know when part 2 is going to be coming out?
Part 2, season 2?
Yeah.
Well, we haven't gotten the call to go shoot it yet. So if we did, it'll be next summer. I'm sure it'll be a summer cycle, as many years as we do.
And then that's like 4 months shooting?
Yeah. If we get a full 26 order, which would be great. But I'm not expecting it, Like it was such a confidence booster to get that 26 order right from the get.
So cool.
Yeah, it was so cool. I was like, wait, what? Like, the pickups that were happening around the time were like 10, 13, like 22, maybe 26.
Even 8 is like, oh, 8, cool.
Yeah. And so to get that full order, it was like, yes, like they're in, like they're invested, And thinking about season 2, like I wasn't even gonna say this. I don't like saying this, but how like to pour all this resource and money onto this and not double down another year would be kind of crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Where do Max Thunderman and Jack Griffo blend together?
It's a good question. I like this question because that's sort of my approach is when I talk about characters, I like to practice saying I instead of he, because that's sort of been my approach in acting in this school that I'm going to
creating this guy.
Yeah, that it is you. Because like we talked about earlier, like people just really want something real. That's what people want. And where do we collide? I think on everything, I think there's parts of Max that are super vain, and I can be super vain. I'm an actor. I'm a Hollywood actor, but I also love my family, and he loves his family ultimately, and I think I can have somewhat of not a mean streak, but I can sort of act out of character and realize who I am a lot, and that's not who I am, and I've been blessed to have a heart that is always ready to apologize and let people know that I know what I did and I won't do it again and I'm sorry, and I think that's something Max has to do a lot, and apologizing is hard for people, but it's been a gift. I think my whole life I'm the first to be like, you know what, I was an idiot, that's my bad, and so I think on most things we're the same, it's just me, it's just this caricature of me. That's really where the heart is. If you can create something that imitates life, you hear art imitates life imitates art, and like when you get that and when you see that, it's like, yeah, like this is right.
How do you like doing voice acting for Batman Loud House?
I'm so glad you brought it up. I love it, and I just booked another one that I can't talk about. Yeah. Yeah, it's a series.
Okay.
For Netflix.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's already established?
Yeah. It's definitely very established.
All right, you're on Ladybug.
I'm
I get
super excited about it. Yeah, I'm not a regular on it, but I recur. And the EP told me in my last session that he's got plans for my character.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm super excited.
Do you know what you look like in it?
Not yet. I have like the way animation works is you usually go in the first time and there's nothing. You're just looking at a script on a page on a screen.
And you're in there with the vocal director who's like, do it a little.
Yeah, the EPs, the engineer, the producers, and then sometimes you'll have another session if they need more stuff. And at least this is the way it worked with Batman, was that you get to see like a halfway done animation, right? And it's so cool, like seeing the evolution. Like animation takes so long; it's such a process. It takes years, and so yeah, I think I can talk. I did Batman and Superman, Battle of the Super Sons. That was like my first big animation thing, and I'm doing 3 more of those.
Of the Batman Superman?
Yeah, so it's like a different. I don't know. I'm not gonna say too much, but I'm doing more of them, and it's a different storyline. It's actually a different Robin. So I had to audition again.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not Damian. Yeah, and it's Batman. It's not Superman's not in it. It's a Batman story. I'm doing 3. It's amazing. Yeah.
What's the day for a voice acting booth like?
What's the day?
Yeah, like are you just in there until you finish the lines? Is there a certain amount of hours that you're booked for?
Yeah, I mean, we'll knock out the whole movie in one session,
The whole
and
wow.
then they'll probably bring me back in for like if something didn't work or if they have rewrites or something like that. But it'll be a whole day. Be a whole
That's
day.
sick.
Take lunch and yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's so cool because as an actor, you know, I mentioned vanity a couple minutes ago. It's like, yeah, like I am always kind of, there's, even if I'm in it, even if I'm dropped in, there's going to be a little bit of me like, how's my hair? You know? And animation just strips you of that. You get to be so dropped in because you're in the scene, but you're not. It's kind of like coaching. It's kind of like how I have my students. You know what I mean? You can see it more clearly because you're not worried about how you look. And at least for me, it was just as a live action actor transitioning into animation, it was liberating was the word. You know, like right from the get, I was like, oh, I'm good at this. You know, and I do feel like I have a good voice. Like a lot of people tell me, like this just happened at the dog park the other day. This guy was kind of being a jerk. He was kind of being a jerk to me and my friend at the dog park. It was like 2 days ago. And he says some things and I kind of say something back and, you know, he goes off and my friend Angie, she's like, what the heck was that? And I was like, don't worry about it, you know. And he comes back around and he's like, are you Jack Griffo? Right? And of course I'm like, yeah, I was not I was nice, you know. I was like, yeah, I am. And he's like, my daughter would love to like get a picture. And I'm like, of course, man. Like, yeah, of course, you know. And I only say this because he walks away, and this is something I get a lot. I'm kind of like hooded up, sunglasses. She was like, she recognized your voice, and I get that a lot.
From the Batman movie for show?
No, from Thundermans.
Oh, from Thundermans.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so it only made sense that this animation thing the ball started rolling on it, and I had a lot of confidence because I don't know, like I said when I was first in the booth, I was like, I like this. I love this. This is so cool. You know, and getting to play Robin, like, are you kidding? Like, it's so awesome.
Iconic character.
Yeah, and now I have this other thing that maybe next time I'm here I can tell you about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, Kid Baron's debut EP coming out. By the
Yeah.
time this comes out, it's out now. Where do people stream it, listen to it? Where's the best spot for you?
All the places. I mean, Spotify, Apple Music. We're gonna have a music video on YouTube. March 7th is the first drop of the first single, and we're gonna kind of waterfall release it. I'm gonna do a couple weeks in between, and we're gonna have boom, 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 1, 2, 3.
Will there be 2 more music videos or?
So not like full on music videos. What I'm trying to sort of fashion now is like a shoot where we do some music video type shots, but it's not going to be like a story. It's not going to be a full music video. It's just going to be vertical content for online. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it, man. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming by.
Dude, thanks for having me again. Yeah, it's great to see you.
Go watch Thundermans. Oh, wait. Out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a good one.
That was great.